Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway for another review. I thought I would just try presenting one from my bench of trains, as it's now called. I don't know if it'll work out, but I thought it might save me old knees a little bit. It might save my knees, but I think it might upset my groin, because I do in fact have to sit like this. But we'll try it. Anyway, we have a major new release from Rapido to look at today, and major is definitely the word, so let's get started. Recently, a huge load of Rapido's brand new narrow gauge rolling stock came into stock, and I'm quite pleased that a lot of it has come at one time, because if it was delivered in dribs and drabs it would have been a reviewer's nightmare. But loads of these wagons have come out and I have a massive stack of them to look at today. Now, this isn't even all of them. I mean, obviously, it's not even all of them. I don't know how many items there are in this range, but there's loads of different wagon types, and within each of those types, there's loads of different liveries and variations. And of course, now there's multiple locomotives to choose from. Say what you like about Rapido, but they do not go into things by halves. You know, they have gone into this range and cranked things to the max. The number of items Rapido have announced for this range is absolutely ridiculous. And I've got a stack of 6, all different wagons here. This isn't even one of each of all of them. First of all, because I'm not made of money, you know. Second of all, because some of them haven't come out yet, and I will talk about what those are in a little while. For now though, I don't know if I've ever tried to announce, I'm not trying to announce anything. I don't know if I've tried to review this many different wagons in one review before, but hey, I'm sitting at a giant bench of trains. Anything's possible these days. So let's get these out and let's see what they are like. And if you'd like to try some of this stuff yourself, or perhaps browse the unimaginably large range of narrow gauge stuff Rapido are releasing, check out the affiliate link down in the description. Right, so we'll start with the top wagon on the stack. And by the way, if it does your head in watching me unbox things on top of other boxes, if that's too many boxes for you to handle, let me know. I might try and get a tablecloth or something to put on here. So what's the first one we've got then? So this is 009 all-purpose wagon. It's the drop side open, that's a word I'm not going to try and say, coal number 9, and the product code is 99005. And the drop side open wagons are the joint cheapest wagons available in this range. So their RRP is £25.95, and at the retailers they cost £22.06, which is not too bad, I don't think, for a new tooled piece of rolling stock. It's a bit wounding given how small it is, but compared with other 009 wagons, it doesn't seem too bad. So let's open this up, and this is going to be officially my very first look at a Rapido narrow gauge wagon. We've got a little bit of info on here, printed in tiny text. Thank you for buying this 009 gauge all-purpose wagon model. And this just seems to be a little bit of info about the range. And then on the back, we've got just some, I think, of the items in this range. This, I don't believe, is all of them. But it gives you an idea of the breadth of the range. Anyway, the wagon itself, any accessories here? No, no accessories. So let's jump straight in and let's take a look. Oh yes. Okay, so it's got your typical Rapido finish, so quite shiny, very new looking, and obviously if that's not your cup of tea, a spot of weathering might be in order. There's a look underneath at the chassis. It'll be interesting to see whether this chassis crops up again among the other wagons in the range. But yeah, it's a beautifully painted wagon. It's quite simple in terms of the separate parts. I'm not really seeing any. There's a bit of brake rigging, I think, but yeah, it is a basic wagon. but it's certainly very nicely painted, and it does seem to be well made. It feels like a sturdy wagon. Yeah, that's very pretty. But there's a lot more to look at besides that, so let's jump in and look at the next wagon, again chosen at random. So this one, as you can see, is 990503. This time it's the Man Rider in blue. Of course, with each wagon I show you here, there is a whole choice of different liveries, but this one's in the blue with gilding number 1. And this is joint cheapest as well, same as the drop side, so £25.95 RRP or £22 and sixpence at the retailers. Why did I say sixpence like an old man? I don't know. But let's pull this one out. I'm actually quite excited about this one because it's quite nice to have a bit of 009 rolling stock for passenger transit that is not a coach and is not massively expensive. But yeah, this thing is tiny. I might try and find, well, no, I was going to say I might try and find some 00 figures so that I can pose them on this, but I'm never going to find one of those. I might have done at the old place. Anyway, there is the Man Rider, and this is just delightful. I think actually this is more my cup of tea than the drop side open wagon, just because it's a bit more unusual. There seems to be a bit more to it. Yeah, that's awesome. So it's literally a double bench mounted onto a flatbed wagon, and looking underneath, the chassis does appear to be the same as on the drop side open wagon, which gives us a clue as to how Rapido have achieved this massive range. So I wonder if it all uses this chassis then. It might do. But yeah, beautiful little Man Rider wagon. Let's move on to the next one then. So what have we got here? Let me show you the end of the box. So this time we've got the gunpowder van. Rapido and their gunpowder vans. I don't know, they seem to love them. This one's in Patterson's Fireworks livery. I mean, couldn't ask for better, could you, for a gunpowder van? And it's number 118, and the product code is 990208. So, a van. Like I say, I mean, yeah, the breadth of this range is incredible. We've got 3 completely different items of rolling stock here so far. Right, let's have a look at the gunpowder van then. Here goes, Patterson's. Is that a real brand of fireworks? I don't know. Is it historical? Does it exist anymore? I'm not sure. Okay, there it is, the fireworks van. So this one is a lot narrower than the previous 2, but it does still seem to be using at least a similar chassis, if not the same. I noticed the brakes look a little different on this, but the chassis itself is the same base chassis, I think. Again, I would say it's a very simple piece of rolling stock this. The body, I think, is just one piece, but the decoration looks pretty good. This one is a bit more expensive than the rest, so it's a couple of pounds more at £27.95 RRP or £23.75 at the retailers. I'm not actually sure why this is more expensive than the others, because effectively it's just still a piece of plastic, i.e. the body, mounted onto the same chassis. I don't know why they had to charge more for it. I think with this we're getting into steeper territory here, given that A, it's generic, and B, it is quite basic in terms of the separate parts. And in terms of separate parts, there aren't any, except for the brake rigging and the brakes, as far as I can see. But yeah, it looks like a beautiful quality wagon, and not too light either, which is nice. Okay, that's the halfway mark. What do we have next? Next, we have quite a larger piece of rolling stock, the van. So, show you the end of the box. This one's 990305. This time it's the covered van. Again, loads of these to choose from. But I went for the Blue Circle, which I think is a cement company in real life, isn't it? And it's number 2. So let's have a look. This one is the same price as the gunpowder van, which again doesn't make a lot of sense because this looks way bigger than that, and I can already see this has got more complexity to it. But this one, again, £27.95 RRP, £23.75 at the retailers. Somewhat less wounding possibly though, because obviously you are getting quite a large piece of rolling stock for your money there. All right, let's have a look at this. This looks very 009 narrow gauge, doesn't it? Because, of course, it's so tall. All right, yeah, lifting out. So there it is, and yeah, you can see what I mean about this being a bit more complex because it's got the separately fitted handrail on the side, which looks like an etched one. So that's good quality. Besides that, it's still quite a basic wagon, I suppose, but the decoration definitely makes up for that, and the moulding looks great. Obviously, it's all new tool, so it looks nice and crisp. And once again, yeah, it appears that this is the same chassis once again. So yeah, so far we've only seen the one chassis. But yeah, not too bad, I suppose. Nearly £25. Yeah, it's a little steep for my liking, but that is 009, obviously. 009's niche, it does tend to cost more. The price of this is very much in line with other 009 stuff. In fact, it might be a little cheaper than the Pico stuff, I think. But then maybe the Pico stuff is less generic. I don't know, swings and roundabouts. Okay, this is one that I've been really looking forward to. This looks great. So it's 990103. This is the cylindrical tank in the United Dairies livery, and it's number 27. So yeah, we have a tank wagon here, and this looks beautiful. It really does look nicely done. Okay, pulling this out, and of course, this is just a wonderful way to grow my collection of 009 rolling stock. I'm always cursing that I've not got more to run with my 009 locos. Well, I'm solving that problem almost entirely within just one day. Anyway, let's look at this one. Oh, now, this is more like it. There's a bit more to this one, I think. Okay, oh yes. So this is by far the most complex one we've seen so far. As you can see, we've got separate parts, we've got quite a complex paint job on it, and this is the same price as the van. So the price doesn't really seem to match the level of complexity here. Once again, this is £27.95 or £23.75 at the retailers. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's the best so far, I reckon. That's the pick of the litter. But I have one more to look at today, and like I said earlier on, this is not the extent of the range, but I guess this is all I've got for this video. It is the brake van. Let me show you the end of the box. So this is the 990803 single veranda brake van, and it's in the plain grey number 9. It's so long since I pre-ordered all this stuff. I wonder why I went for the plain grey. I don't know. I might not have put that much thought into it. I don't know. But I usually try and choose carefully, so I don't know why I did that. But yeah, it looks good. Right. So this is the most expensive of them all. This one cost £29.95 RRP or £25.45 at the retailers. So again, a couple of pounds more than anything else we've seen. So hopefully the complexity of the model will be reflected by the price. It's greasy. Why is it greasy? You don't really need to lubricate these axles, do you? Never mind. Okay. All right, yeah. You can see why this is a bit more expensive. So we've got a lot more to this, and I'll show you the detail in just a second, but obviously we've got multiple handrails this time. We've got the detailed veranda, we've got glazed windows. Yeah, all right, for 25 quid, actually, I think, even though this is the most expensive, this may be the best value of these 009 wagons that I've looked at. Yeah, there's just quite a lot to this one. I don't know if there's any interior detail. I'll try and investigate that later on. But yeah, it's a pretty wagon. But once again, it does seem to be on the same chassis, just with no brake rod this time. So yeah, a very, very pretty range. I am quite impressed with this. Obviously it's expensive, but Rapido in 00 can be a lot more expensive than some of the other manufacturers. But that's not really the case here. Obviously this is not dirt cheap, but it is the same price at least, or possibly a little cheaper than some of the other 009 rolling stock we can see. Obviously this is less realistic than a lot of it. It is more generic, and they're producing more products so they can spread their costs over more different product codes. So it is what you'd expect, but nevertheless, it's nice to see at least fair prices. So what else is there in this range besides what you can see here? Well, there's a few bits that are still to come. So the rectangular tank, I don't believe is out yet at the time of filming. There's the round-ended flat wagon, which again, I've not seen out yet. Maybe that's to come soon. Then there's the wooden hopper, which is a very old-fashioned looking wagon. I like that a lot. Again, I don't think that one's out yet. And then there's a few more that are out now that I didn't order for whatever reason, just preference, I guess. And that's the peaked roof van, that's out now. The livestock wagon, not sure why I didn't pre-order one of those. I like the look of that. And then there's the stake wagon as well. I believe that is also out. But for now, let's take a much closer look at some of these wagons, and we will see exactly what detail they have or perhaps haven't got. So we're going to start off with the first one I unboxed, the drop side open wagon. And yeah, this is a perfectly beautiful piece of rolling stock. It's pretty cleverly designed. It's designed to be inexpensive by the looks of it, but yet still quite pretty looking, which I think they've succeeded in. The weight is obviously not a great deal. It weighs just 8 grams. And it is a very, very basic model. The body seems to be just a single moulded piece. It doesn't have separate detail on it. The chassis is a little bit more complex because it's got the brake rigging on it, but again, that's pretty much the only area of complexity. So I think while it makes sense that these are relatively expensive compared with 00 wagons, which are obviously much larger and they tend to have a lot more separate parts and they may be more accurate to a particular prototype, I think given how niche 009 is, I think the pricing does make sense. But equally, it is still kind of wounding that this costs over £22 at the retailers. The plus side is, though, I feel pretty good about this because if I ever decide to go into 009 with my wagons, I'm pretty confident I could produce something equivalent to this for less than £20. I'm pretty sure I could do that quite easily. So yeah, they're not bargains. They do seem to be very basic, and given how basic these are, part of me wants to say, you know, this should have been less than £20. Looking at what Hornby have been able to do with their kind of play trains rolling stock, which is not too dissimilar to these really, my brain can't really compute that this should have cost over 20, but again, it's a different market. So you have to kind of think of it like that, but then equally, you can't really expect customers to think like that. They look at products in terms of what you actually get for your money, and that's where this is a little more questionable. But anyway, let's take a look at it up close. The decoration is excellent. All of the metalwork is painted up in the black, as you can see. That's been very precisely painted. And you've got the lettering, go on, I'll try and say it, Merionethshire. There we go. Probably said it wrong, but he who dares wins, I guess. Yeah, the print work is beautiful across the wagon, it really is, and we've even got the running number on the other end. The chassis, like I say, is basic, but the moulding is great. I mean, the axle boxes look wonderful given how small they are, and the brake rigging looks very good too. Plus, you've got a selection of different brake handles across this range, and we're going to see a few of those today. And then the interior of the wagon is separately painted into the brown. And that's pretty much it. You've got your typical hook and loop 009 style couplings, and that's your lot. And we've got a lot to get through today, so I'm not going to linger on this for too long. Let's move on and look at the next wagon. So here is the Man Rider, which I like a lot. I definitely want to get some figures to put on this. And for the same price as the drop side open wagon, this does feel like better value. It's obviously a more visually complex item. It's got quite a lot of lining on it, as you can see. Several faces on here are lined. You've obviously got the painted planks along the bottom of the body there, and the painted seats are in the same brown colour as well. Plus, unlike the open wagon, this is not just a single piece body. You've got the flatbed wagon here, and then the bench is glued on. So yeah, for the same price, this is a little bit more complex, so this is better value. Once again, the print work looks excellent. It really does. I can't fault it. In fact, it's very, very pretty. And the chassis, I think, is the same as we saw on the open wagon. It's got the same style of brake rigging, same style of brake handle. Yeah, it's basically the same thing, just with a different body. But it's nicely done, and once again, the moulding is excellent, particularly where the planking is. Yeah, it's fine. I think for £22, this is a lot more like it. And it weighs about the same as well. It's just less than 8 grams. Next up then we have the gunpowder wagon, which again looks great. It's very nicely done, isn't it? Although we are back to a single piece body again, I think, by the looks of it, and therefore I'm not too sure why this is more expensive than the Man Rider, for example. Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess the brake handle is slightly more complex on this, maybe that's it. But yeah, once again, we don't have any separate detail here. This, what I think is the locking mechanism for the doors. You might expect to see these separately fitted on a standard gauge wagon. Here though, even this is just a part of the moulding. I think, quite honestly, £27.95 as an RRP is poor value here. You're not getting a particularly complex model there for nearly £30. Obviously at the retailers we're talking £23.75, but again, I personally just can't help but think of what you can get in 00 for that money, and what you can get is a lot more complex than this. So again, I understand where the price is coming from, but I'm not seeing that much value in this wagon. But like I say, the way it's been done is pretty good. It's been designed to be pretty cheap to produce, so the foundations are there for some good value rolling stock. But anyway, yeah, the print work looks really good. I love the fireworks artwork on the end there. I mean, maybe that's a bit of extra complexity that you're paying for there. And also the moulding looks great. You've got all of the riveting there, which has come out really nice and crisp. So that's very good as well. And you've got, again, the same chassis as before. I think, as far as I can see, and let me know if you see anything else, I think it is just the brake handle this time that is different about that chassis. And this doesn't weigh much more than the others either, so it's not that. It's about half a gram more at 8.5 grams. So not a massively heavy thing, but it will be perfectly stable, I should think, on a 009 layout. And next up we have the van, and again the price doesn't make sense here. I can't see why this should cost the same as the gunpowder van, because this is a much bigger model. It's a lot heavier as well. This is 10 grams, and it's also got separate details in the form of these separate metal handrails. So it almost feels like the prices have been kind of plucked out of mid-air, really, based on what they think people are willing to pay. Vans, £23.75 at the retailers, regardless of the complexity. But yeah, I think this is a better deal as a result of that. You've still got quite a bit of complex decoration, which obviously varies between each model. But yeah, the print work looks really good. And by the way, as far as I can tell, these are not just UV printed. These do appear to be properly tampo printed, which again is more expensive than UV printing. So be careful about comparing these with cheaper UV printed wagons. These do not appear to have been done with that production technique. Yeah, the moulding looks great as well. We've got a lot of planking on this, and like I say, there's twice as much wagon here as there is with the gunpowder wagon. So for the same price, pretty good value. And we're back to the same old underframe that we've seen before, with the same brake handle as on the drop side open wagon. Next then we have the tanker, and yeah, I'm sorry, I'm filming something white against a white background. I can't keep my hand there, can I? Anyway, take a mental picture of this, because I'm about to remove the hand and the tanker's going to disappear into the white ether. There you go. Anyway, yeah, this is my favourite, I think. This is fantastic. Again, the price makes no sense at all, because this is a lot more complex than the two vans that we've just seen, and yet it's the same price. So yeah, go figure. It's pretty good and heavy, this. This one comes in at just under 9 grams, so it's more than quite a few of them. How have they made this? Well, this is the same wagon as the Man Rider, so it's got the same planked base, as you can see, but rather than having the bench glued onto it, they've got this marvellous tanker body glued onto it, which I think is the most detailed. So you've got the support struts here. These parts quite messily connect to the banding on the tank itself, which is just moulded on and then painted to match. But from a distance, it looks a lot more convincing than it does up close. And then underneath the tanker, you've got these, well, it's one piece, I think, but you've got this separate tap part, and the handles themselves are painted red. I mean, yeah, the complexity here is way above the likes of the gunpowder van, which are just one single moulded part. And then I think possibly even the filler on the top here might be a separate part as well. If it isn't, it stands out nicely, and because it's been painted and picked out, it might as well be separate. So yeah, I think this is the best value of the ones we've looked at up close. For £23.75, I think the price is quite understandable, actually. And then we've got the decoration, which is beautiful. Again, I really like the fact that these are not UV printed. If they were, maybe these could have been a lot cheaper, and I'm quite surprised Rapido haven't made these UV printed, because like I say, that would have shaved a few pounds off possibly. But looking at the quality of the print work here, I'm glad they haven't, particularly for the prices as they are. And also the riveting on the tanker is absolutely marvellous as well. Yeah, it looks beautiful. Hands down, my favourite. But this is not the last of them. Let's move on and look at the final and most expensive of today's wagons. So here it is, up close and personal for you, the brake van. And generally speaking, I really wish this didn't cost over £25 at the retailers. Again, that is quite wounding. But compared with the other wagons in today's range, it does make sense that this is more expensive than them, because it is a lot bigger than most of them and it is a lot more complex. So we do, I think, have the same basic chassis as before, except this time there is no brake handle fitted to it, and instead we've got these steps separately fitted, and the little step itself is separately painted as well. So there's a bit of complexity right there. Then of course there's the fact that we have the large body, similar in size to the van that we looked at earlier on, except this time we have the veranda, which has to be painted on its interior. As you can see, that's a different colour. The entrance to the veranda has these separate wire handrails, 2 of them fitted to each side. Again, that's a level of complexity that the others don't have. We've got the interior of the veranda itself with the brake handle. Again, that's another separate part. And then we've got the windows, which are separately glazed, both on the front inside the veranda and also on the back facing out. So I think the fact that this is only a couple of pounds more than the others is more than fair enough, quite honestly. This is very complex. I don't think there's any interior detail, by the way, although it doesn't matter too much because you can't really see in there. I will say though that there is planking on the inside walls. Again, I don't know why, because you can't really see them, but that is a nice touch, I think. Otherwise though, once again, this is designed to be relatively inexpensive. The lamp bracket, for example, is not separately fitted. Again, that's a pity. If that was a separate part, you might have been able to fit a lamp onto that. But no, that's just moulded on and then painted. So again, it's not perhaps good value compared with 00, but for 009 I think this is more than fair enough. And it's also worth saying the quality of this is fantastic as well, especially for Rapido. And I think this goes for the entire range actually. I have not seen a part drop off. That's probably because there's not many separate parts, but we'll give them the brownie points they deserve for that, because this one's quite complex and there's certainly nothing dropping off this. I'm not seeing hiccups in the decoration, even though these are properly tampo printed and not UV printed, and I'm not seeing any visible glue sort of straying into areas where it shouldn't be. So they are expensive, but they are nicely made and they look good enough, I think, from any sort of distance. And to finish off, this brake van weighs 10 grams. I give you the weight of the rest of them, so I might as well with this. Anyway, that's it. Now we're going to test the performance of these wagons, and for that I'm going to have to find a locomotive, so I'm not going to be able to be choosy here. I'm going to have to literally go with the first 009 loco I can find, but most of them are good, so hopefully that will turn out okay. Right, let's get these down onto the track. Let's give them a try. So there are the wagons lined up on the track in a random order, and which engine won the lucky dip? It was Rheneas. Bit annoying that it wasn't one of Bachmann's finer 009 narrow gauge engines, but hey, I said I'm going to choose the first one I found, and it was Rheneas. So, first of all, I can't really show you how free rolling these are because I don't have a slope to run them down, but empirically I can say they are extremely free rolling, particularly this little blighter here, the gunpowder wagon. Could not keep that bugger still while I was trying to film it. Took twice as long as it should have. So they are pretty free rolling. I don't think they have separate bearings on their axles like the wagons from Rapido do. So again, it's a bit questionable for how expensive these were, but are they free rolling? Yes. Is the wear on the axle boxes going to be particularly great given how light they are? No, I don't think so. So overall, I think they are fine. Anyway, what about couplings? Noticeably, the hook and loop couplings that these have come with are quite large. They're much larger than on Bachmann's Rheneas, for example, and they're not blackened. They're in quite a conspicuous silver colour, which is not brilliant, is it? Really, these couplings are supposed to be subtle, but maybe their excessive size might mean that the ones that are on this curve here might couple up all right, even though they are on a curve. So let's warm Rheneas up a little bit and we'll see how many of these couplings are successful. So we are attempting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 connections. Let's back up quite steadily and see how many succeed. The answer is Rheneas is stuck. The answer is 1 failure, 2 failures, 3 failures, 4 failures. Yeah, so not a brilliant result, but it might just be that they're on the curve. So let's try and get this coupled to Rheneas. Let's move these onto the straight. And let's see if they work better on the straight. Okay. All right, here we go. No, okay. So they're not brilliant then. Well, we got one more. We got one more than before. So yeah, I'm not really keen on these couplings then. I don't know why they had to be so big. I don't know why they have to be so conspicuous. I don't know why they're not blackened. Again, they're not supposed to be toy grade wagons. I think better couplings wouldn't have been too much to ask for here. And I think I would have forgiven their size if they'd have all coupled perfectly, but they didn't. And compatibility with this Bachmann coupling is not brilliant. Right, I've managed to do it manually. Right, so, hey, they look great. I mean, this is such a varied train already, and this doesn't contain all of the wagons available. Come on, Rheneas. I know, we're all tired. Oh, blimey. It's not liking those points. But speaking of points, I think I need to run all this stuff over the points, see how reliable it is. All right, let's try. Right, let's throw the points open. I think Rheneas is going to have the most trouble here. But anyway, he's the only engine on the railway for now, so let's see what happens. Look at that. And only a small stutter from Rheneas as well. Right, let's do it again, but faster. Oh yeah, okay, so performance-wise, absolutely brilliant. Literally the only thing that's bugging me here is how bright and shiny those couplings are, can you see? Yeah, they're just really conspicuous, aren't they? And look, the one on Bachmann Rheneas, which is a Thomas toy, much more subtle. So I'm a bit surprised about that, because this whole range strikes me as being very, very well thought through. You know, it's clear that a lot of thought has been put into the design of all of this. So it is strange that we've got such kind of bad and big looking couplings on these. I'm just surprised nobody looked at them at Rapido and thought, do you know what, these don't look great, particularly compared with the likes of Bachmann, who are Rapido's probably biggest competitor in 009. So at the very least, these coupling loops should have been blackened, and more ideally, they could have been a little bit smaller. But anyway, let's have a bit of a run. Let's see how it all looks as part of a train. All right, so they look amazing as they run along, they really do. And while up close, the detail I think could have been better potentially. From this sort of distance, obviously, you don't notice it too much. So yeah, on the whole, I'm pretty impressed. I wouldn't fault the performance too much. They're nice and free rolling, they handle curves and points without any problems. And once the couplings are together, they seem to function perfectly. I do think the couplings are the weakest aspect of these models though. Yes, because they don't look great, but they also didn't work particularly great either. Coupling these wagons up, for me, wasn't as successful as I hoped it would be. I had to do quite a few of them manually in the end, and some of the others took several attempts. So yeah, couplings a little bit on the weak side. Everything else though, really, really good. They're decently heavy, as you can see, they're not coming off, so they're heavy enough. They've got nice metal wheels, the quality's good, as much as they are quite plasticky, although I think some of them probably have metal weights inside. But yeah, they are plastic, body's plastic, I think chassis is plastic as well. Again, a bit questionable for the price, but like I say, the weight is alright. So yeah, I think they look good, I really do. And at the prices they are at, I think they're okay. They're certainly not bargains, they're certainly not rip-offs either. It is such a large range though that it might be that these turn up in the sale at some point if they don't sell through. So if you're on the fence, I would say, you know, potentially wait. And if you can shave off an extra 10-20% or so, then these would become a lot better value. Otherwise though, yeah, I think they're good. They are very, very enjoyable. And I guess more than being enjoyable, they're also fun. They don't take themselves too seriously. I don't think even Rapido would try to argue that these are the most detailed and the most faithful 009 wagons ever produced, but they are just good fun. They're pretty, the liveries are whimsical. I like them a lot. They are certainly very, very enjoyable. Let's have some ratings then for Rapido's all-purpose wagons in 009. Now, I have held these wagons to a high standard with my ratings because they are expensive. And when models are expensive, you expect to get a lot for your money. You expect to have all of the stops pulled out. And while I really do like these wagons, I do think it's fair to say that in at least several cases here, you don't get a whole lot for your money. So with that in mind, level of detail for me is 3.5 star. On the plus side, the paint jobs are all wonderful right across the board. They are not painted or printed with UV printing, they are painted the proper way with tampo printing, so they look wonderful. And the molded detail is great as well. Obviously they're all new tooled, it all looks nice and crisp and modern, that's pretty good. And certain models are more detailed than others. I mean, the brake van is particularly good, lots of separate detail and such. So models like that one are pretty good. On the downside though, these are generic rolling stock. They are not necessarily prototypically accurate. And I think when that's the case, you expect to pay a little bit less, don't you? Or at least you should do. Also, they are quite reliant on molded detail. Some of these wagons' bodies are just single molded pieces. They are quite basic. They don't use very many separate parts. And do you know what? That's absolutely fine. They look okay, but I think given how much they cost, they are a little bit simpler perhaps than I was expecting them to be. The other thing that lets them down detail-wise, and I'm not sure that the detail category is quite the right place, but I think it's the best fit. The other thing is the couplings. They are very big, they are very shiny for some reason, and they are a little bit distracting. Again, I think given that these are quite premium priced pieces of rolling stock, I would have expected subtler looking couplings than this. Performance though is great. They are nice and free rolling, they're reliable over curves and points, that's all good. The couplings again though, they're quite big clumsy things, they didn't couple up quite right, but they are very good with a bit of a question mark over the couplings. Similarly, the quality is excellent on the whole. We do have metal wheels. Where there are separate handrails, those are made from metal, so that's nice as well. Everything else is plastic though. There may be some weight inside some of the wagons to improve the stability on the track, but the bodies, the chassis are just plastic on these models. So I can't give them 5 star. I don't think the weight is a problem, but when we have the likes of Bachmann with their expensive 009 rolling stock, when they produce nice die-cast chassis on their wagons, I don't think it would be fair for me to give these 5 when these are all plastic. Value for money then, so this is a little bit tricky. I mean, the RRPs, they start at £25.95, and for the brake van, the RRP is £29.95. At the retailers, you're ranging from £22.06 to £25.45 for the most expensive wagon, that's the brake van. So as nice as these are, I think in most cases these are a little bit expensive. Funnily enough, I think the most expensive one is probably the best value. That brake van, I can see why that thing might cost £25. More generally though, yeah, these are pretty basic wagons, and yes, 009 is niche, but if we're looking at exactly what you get for your money here and compare it with 00, the value is certainly poorer here. I do think though, compared with some other 009 manufacturers, the price of these wagons is at least in line with them and possibly slightly cheaper. But then again, you'd expect that because these are generic, they're not specific to any particular prototype. Personally, I would expect to pay less for models like that anyway. So on the whole scheme of model railways, if you include TT and 00 into the mix, the value for these is pretty poor. Compared with other 009 rolling stock though, I think the value is pretty fair. Overall then, that is 7.17 out of 10, or a grade of D, which does feel, you know, kind of harsh giving these a D, but there's several reasons for that. I think really for the money, they could have had a little more detail to them, perhaps, maybe a little more complexity. I would certainly want to see better couplings, possibly a little bit more metalwork on boards, although that's not a deal breaker for me, or at the very least, slightly more reasonable prices. Room for improvement on these, but do they look good? Yes. And do they run well? Yes, mostly they do. So into the logbook we go then, and they are 10th place, just above the Bachmann CEA wagon and below Bachmann's Gloucester bogie coach. So overall, I've really enjoyed looking at these. They are great fun wagons and they are pretty nicely made as well. If you're already into 009, then these will be quite good value pieces of rolling stock for you, provided you don't mind the fact that they are generic. If you're looking at this from another gauge, particularly 00, the value for money is certainly a lot more questionable, and that's kind of where I fit into all of this. Yeah, generally speaking, I'm used to getting more for my money than I did here. Do you want to know the cost to me at the retailers for this entire train, not counting Rheneas? We're talking £140, folks. That's quite a lot for what is quite a basic train. So yeah, question mark over the value for money, but the wagons are nicely done, they're very well designed, and the most important thing of all, they are enjoyable. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think? Did you try any of these, and which liveries did you go for, if so? Also, if you're not currently modelling 009, in which case, well done for making it to the end of this video, do these tempt you to jump into 009 gauge? Obviously this is just the rolling stock for now, but Rapido do have some locomotives on the way, and when those come out, the current offering for 009 is going to grow quite significantly. So are you tempted into this scale? Please do let me know. For now though, thanks so much for watching. Affiliate links down in the description as always. Bless you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Alright, cheers everybody, you take care.